Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'd like to give special thanks and honor and prayers to our producer today, Mr. Logan Landis, for making it happen. Today, our video is on the NFL legend, Mr. Dwight Clark, wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me is the special talented guy, the number one writer for FirstRoundMark.com. He's coming to us live out of Grand Junction, Colorado, the talented Mr. William Yanish. So if you like the video, please come in and share it. Mr. William Yanish, tell us about this great football player that played with the San Francisco 49ers all of his 9 years in the National Football League at the University of Clemson. Tell us about Dwight Clark.
Oh man, this is one of those things that goes back to my childhood. The reason that I'm the resident, San Francisco 49ers fan around 100 yards of football. Dwight Clark. I mean, that was one of the first. Ever things. I'm sitting here looking at my notes for today, and just seeing the 1979 draft and realizing, all the players that were in it, not only for the Niners, but, other teams, Jets, that kind of thing. There was Joe Montana, Dwight Clark, just for the Niners, that was something that led to, the entire dynasty. And, that pick there on the screen, everybody knows about the catch. And that was definitely one of my first memories, though. Sitting out in I believe I was in Santa Rosa, California at the time as a kid, and watching the 49ers just turn into this monster that it became over the 80s and 90s. And Dwight Clark was so much of that. This guy is 6'4", 212 pounds. He was one of those original, kind of big receivers. It's almost like the tight end thing, and he was a high school quarterback, and I'm sure that's how he became, getting in there and playing receiver and becoming exactly what he did, spending his entire career with the Niners, and two-time Super Bowl champion, his first team All-Pro. And this is a 10th round pick in 1979. No, 249th overall. That's a ways down that list. There weren't too many expectations coming in for him, but everyone talks about Montana and Rice, and it's like, before Rice got there, the Niners already had, 2 Super Bowls. And this man here was one big part of that. What do you think of him, Vincent?
I'm going to tell you about Dwight Clark, San Francisco 49ers to the Niners Nation. January the 10th, 1982 changed really the face of the National Football League. Because when you look at that time, the teams that I looked up to, I was 21 years old at the time, the Cowboys ran the NFL. The Steelers ran the NFL. There was no doubt about it. Those two teams were at the top of the game. But when Dwight Clark, as y'all look on that screen, made that catch, let me repeat the date again. January the 10th, 1982, the National Football League changed. But see, I knew a little bit about Dwight Clark because he played at Clemson, and he was 3 years ahead of me. At the time of that catch, I was a senior at the University of Arkansas. But I remember when I got on campus in 1978 Arkansas, Dwight Clark played on that Clemson team that won the ACC that year. And they went 11-1. And they had Steve Fuller, they had Jim Stuckey, they had Bubba Brown out of Loudon, Tennessee. Kudos to Loudon, Tennessee. They beat the 865. They had Perry Toto, and they had Jeff Bryant out of the 404, Atlanta, Georgia. And I remember Dwight Clark in a game against Maryland in that 7-8 season when he caught a 67-yard pass and they took it to the house. I already knew about Dwight Clark. And then when he got to San Francisco, I kind of forgot about it. Because remember the first year when him and Joe Montana came in, they went 2-14. Then the next year they went 6-10. But boy, when that season came around in 81, everything changed. And with that catch right there, the 49ers, you cannot talk about dynasty until at least you mention that team out there on the West Coast. Since that time, with that catch, the 49ers have won 5 Super Bowls. Since that catch, they've been in 12 playoffs. Since that catch, they look like they appeared in the playoffs, the last 3 years? The last 4 out of 6 years have been to 2 Super Bowls and 3 NFC West championships. And it's all because of that young man right there with that catch. Think about it, Dwight Clark would have made that catch against the Dallas Cowboys. What would that fate been with the 49ers? In 10 years, the 49ers won 159 games. They lost 56. They tied 1. Under Dwight Clark, they won 11 NFC, like I said, titles. But most of all, think about how dominating they were during that time. As you mentioned, Mr. Yanish, they won 2 Super Bowls. But when you talk about domination at a high level for a franchise, they beat Miami in the Super Bowl 38-16 with Dan Marino. They beat Denver 55-10 with John Elway. And they beat San Diego 49-26 with Junior Seau. What's the commonality? All 3 of those players are those franchises in the Hall of Fame. But I tell you what, man, when we leave this video today, and if any San Francisco 49ers watching, including yourself, Mr. Yanish, we need to really give this man right here on this screen his credit, his flowers. It's unfortunate he passed a couple of years ago. But that young man, what I'm going to remember about him, he is the guy that changed the face of the NFL. When you talk about dynasties, when you talk about the new kid on the block. And he was a good-looking guy. And the guy was very talented. He sung back over Huey Lewis in the news. Outstanding football player, outstanding human being. Even though I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, he's the gentleman that started that dynasty, him and Joe Montana. And more or less, the young man, Mr. Dwight Clark, started it. Because if he hadn't made that catch, we wouldn't even be talking about the San Francisco 49ers. And I didn't even know this. Let's give him his flowers, man. He's from Kingston, North Carolina. There's something in that water in Kingston, North Carolina. Brandon Ingram, Reggie Bullock, Cedric Cornbread Maxwell, Tyrone Willingham, Jerry Stackhouse, and the late, great Dwight Clark. San Francisco 49ers in the house. Back to you, Mr. Yanish.
Well, man, just seeing this, I mean, even after he, stopped playing ball for the Niners, the role that he played as an executive in the league and everything else, this man, I mean, he, like you said, changed everything about football. And that's why we're talking about him here today. Doesn't get near enough credit for the things that he did. And, but, there's us out here that know it.
Final words today on Mr. Dwight Clark. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'd like to give special thanks to our very talented producer, Mr. Logan Landers. To my man, the very talented writer for FirstRoundMark.com. He's a San Francisco 49ers fan out of Grand Junction, Colorado. My man, Mr. Talented William Yanish III. My final words about Dwight Clark, I want you to think about this. If God can make a perfect human being that everybody loved and liked, Dwight Clark would be that role model. And think about the 79 NFL draft, the 1979 NFL draft. Jerry Butler, Willis Adams, James Owens, Ernest Gray, Jeff Moore, Ricky Watts, Gordon Jones, John Floyd, Kevin Sweeney, and Spider Games all went before Dwight Clark. But we don't hear nothing about that. But when you go back to that 79 draft, you ask what wide receiver came out that made a stamp on this league? You better look at that young man right there, Dwight Clark, January the 10th, 1982. The catch that made the cover of Sports Illustrated. Dwight Clark, Clemson University. Y'all be blessed here on 100 Yards of Football. God bless.